Namaste. In the last episode of Meet the Sarsanghchalaks, I told you the story of RSS founder Dr. K.B. Hedgewarji. And in this episode, we will talk about the second Sarsanghchalak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Shri Madhav Sadashiv Golwalkar. Born in the year 1906 at Ramtek near Nagpur, Maharashtra, Shri Madhav Sadashiv Golwalkar, otherwise endearingly addressed as Guruji by one and all, was the only surviving son among the 9 children of his parents, to whom he was their beloved Madhu. It seems a destiny spared him, for it was he who in later years, as the second Sarsanghchalak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, was to be the cynosure of the nation. A prodigy that he was, Guruji, after having graduated from the Hislop College of Nagpur, joined the Hindu University of Varanasi for his master's degree in science, during which period the benign and inspiring influence of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, the founder of the university and the reputed Hindu leader of yesteryears, prodded young Madhav Golwalkar to work for the Hindu cause. Later, for a couple of years, he served his alma mater as a professor, and it was then that he earned from his students the affectionate sobriquet of Guruji, a reverential attribute which stuck him to his permanent in the years that followed. He was initiated into Sangh when he was still a professor by Shri Prabhankar Balwantadani, a student of his, who in later years became the Sarkaravaha of the Sangh. Guruji returned to Nagpur in the year 1933 to be with his parents, and there he came under the magnetic influence of Dr. Keshav Baliram Hedgewarji, the founder of the Sangh, an event which metamorphosed him, just as it happened between Sri Ramakrishna and Narendra. Having decided to remain unmarried, he studied law and in fact practiced too for a year or two, while devoting almost all of his time and energy for Sangh activities. But his inner urge was for spiritual pursuit. He was intimately associated with Ramakrishna Ashram earlier, and he kept alive his association with that religious order while at Nagpur also. Having been empowered by that strong impulse, he, to the utter surprise of all who knew him, including his beloved parents, left for the Saragachi ashram of Ramakrishna Math in the Himalayas to be a sannyasi. He was there for a few months, after which he was initiated with Mantra Diksha by Swami Akhanananda, a Guru Bhai of Swami Vivekananda. But his was the nature not to be confined within the 4 walls of the ashram, and his Guru too, in his last days, bade him to serve the society at large from outside the ashram. Guruji returned to Nagpur from Saragachi in the year 1937 and then onwards plunged himself, heart and soul, onto the Sangh work. Dr. Hedgewarji bequeathed to him the onus of Sarsanghchalak on the eve of his demise in June 1940. Guruji steered the organization for 33 long years as its guide and philosopher. He, with his tireless travel all around the year, visited each and every province at least twice annually, thus for not less than 60 times across the length and breadth of the Bharat. This is indeed a unique record. Guruji electrified the work of grow rapidly in far-off places in Assam and Kerala. With his great erudition, he congruently propounded the historical and sociological background and the logicality of the concept of Hindu Rashtra, which, when he assumed the responsibility as helmsman of the movement for Hindu resurgence, represented what RSS. It was just an empirical thought. Guruji thus widened the ideological base of the Sangh, making it intelligible to a lay villager and the urban intellectual alike, with his uncompromising stress on the 1-hour Shakha technique. Through word and the deed, he perfected the Sangh methodology also, in every detail, thus making it true inculcation of proper sanskar, an ideal man-making instrument. And because of his inspiring personality at the helm, apart from the Shakha network, which spread far and wide, a number of affiliates like Vidyarthi Parishad and Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, Vishwa Hindu Parishad and Bharatiya Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, to name just a few, also began to sprout forth, one after another, as more and more co-workers imbued with Sangh ideology and organizational skill began to translate them in respective field of their interest. To all these, Guruji was the source, figure and a guide. And because of his intimate contact with the common people and the elite all over the Bharat, he always had his finger on the pulse, beat of the nation, and as such many a time he had premonition of the coming events, about which he used to forewarn the society and the rulers. In early 50s, when the government appointed a 3-man commission in pursuance of its earlier commitment for the reorganization of states on linguistic basis, Guruji was the lone voice for having a unitary form of government which alone he felt could strengthen the integrity of the then nascent republic. After many years, the realization has now dawned that the experiment, after all, was disastrous. With regard to turmoil in the northeast states, about the same time, he warned the powers that be about the nefarious activities of the Christian missionaries with an advice to deal with them with an iron hand. But the advice fell on deaf ears, due to which the country is now paying a very heavy price. In the mid-50s, when our political masters were toying with Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai euphoria, Guruji was forthright in advising them publicly not to be befooled by the hollow rhetoric, but to fortify our borders. He could clearly foresee, and in fact, he forewarned also about the evil designs of the China to attack us unawares from across the borders. The later events bear testimony of his warning. Again, prior to general census of 1960, when the Punjab problem was still smoldering, he was the first to advise that Punjabi language with Gurumukhi script be owned by all people in Punjab as their mother tongue, and also that Sikhs should register themselves as Hindus. Had that advice been heeded, Punjab would perhaps not have become the cauldron it turned out to be. One of the starkest illustrations of all of these was Guruji's vision occurred during the 1962 Indo-China War. For years leading up to the conflict, he had warned against the danger of Chinese expansionism. While Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru promoted Panchsheel and the slogan Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai as mentioned earlier, China steadily built roads, airstrips and barracks in Tibet. The annexation of Tibet itself, Guruji pointed out, was not a local affair but a prelude to aggression against, in fact, India. His warnings, dismissed as alarmist by the political leadership, proved tragically accurate. In October 1962, Chinese troops poured into Ladakh and Nepal, which is now Arunachal Pradesh, inflicting heavy casualties on the ill-prepared Indian army. The illusion of brotherhood collapsed in weeks, leaving the nation shaken. In the Bengali weekly Swastika, which was released in November 12, 1962, Guruji's words captured both urgency and foresight. He wrote, "For the defense of our borders, the entire nation must today remain ever ready and vigilant." For Guruji, national security was not merely a matter of military hardware, but of social discipline, unity and sacrifice. He had in fact declared that unite for the supreme sacrifice of life at the feet of Mother India. Quoting the Bhagavad Gita, Guruji reminded its citizens that better to die fulfilling one's duty than to live by another's. Defending the motherland, he even argued that was not optional patriotism but dharma itself. For Guruji, the conflict was not just about borders, it was a confrontation between two worldviews, Bharat rooted in dharma and spiritual heritage, and communist China grounded in materialism and expansionism. Military preparedness was essential, but without cultural strength, he warned it would not endure. At Delhi's Ramlila Maidan in the year December 1962, he even told a massive gathering that expansionism is an inherent trait of communism. Yet at this moment, we must rise above political divides and rally behind the government in the national war effort. His appeal demonstrated both his critique of Nehru's China policy and his insistence on national unity in crisis. Just a week earlier, on November 6, 1962, Guruji had urged closer ties with Nepal, warning that China might attempt to exploit it against India, a prediction that resonates even today. His statement in Nagpur was sharp. Our dream of friendship with China was an illusion. When a nation fails to recognize reality, its very existence is endangered. While political leaders reeled under the shock of defeat, RSS volunteers swung into action, and across the country, Swayamsevaks organized blood donation camps, relief drives, logistical support for soldiers and refugees. Guruji consistently emphasized that in war, every citizen must serve, not only soldiers in uniform. The scale of his voluntary effort compelled even the Nehru government to take notice. In January 1963, RSS was invited to participate in the Republic Day parade in New Delhi. Nearly 3,000 Swayamsevaks marched in their Ganvesh carrying danda, accompanied by the Sangh band. Vijay Kumar, a Swayamsevak who participated, later recalled that the confirmation arrived barely 24 hours before the parade. Yet, buses were filled with volunteers at dawn. The air rang with patriotic songs. Even army officers recorded us singing. When we marched, the commentators remarked, "You know all these people who are marching with discipline? That remains unforgettable." The movement, although often contested in records, became a milestone, an acknowledgement of the Sangh's discipline and its contribution to the war effort. Sri Guruji's role as a national voice continued into the 1965 war with Pakistan. Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri invited him to all-party meeting recognizing that national security required unity. Guruji not only participated but also addressed the nation through All India Radio from Gujarat, urging citizens to maintain their morale and dedicate themselves to making sacrifice. Guruji said, "Let us pray for the victory, work tirelessly, and be prepared for the highest sacrifice." Similarly, during Goa's liberation in the year 1961 and in various natural disasters, RSS volunteers earned recognition for their swift relief efforts, a tradition that continues today in Uttarakhand, Gujarat, and elsewhere. Beyond wars and crises, Shri Guruji's greatest contribution lay in reinforcing that Bharat's destiny depended on cultural resurgence. Politics alone, he argued, could not hold the nation together. Dharma, unity and discipline had to be cultivated at the grassroots. The Shakhas became crucibles of this training, producing Swayamsevaks who would serve in fields ranging from social service to education to defense. Echoing Swami Vivekananda, Guruji declared that religion and dharma were the lifeblood of India. Without a spiritual awakening, he believed the nation would falter. His vision tied national security to cultural confidence and patriotism to civilizational pride. Thus, with the uncompromising commitment to the good of the nation, he built a massive organization on the same lines. As Sarsanghchalak, Guruji served the motherland for over 33 years, at the end of which he passed on the stewardship to the shoulders of Sri Barasaheb Devras, also called as Madhu Thank you so much for watching.